President of Bundestag, Mr. Norbert LAMMERT. Welcome to our Medibox platform. On the occasion of the Conference of Presidents of Parliament, now we are in the Council of Europe, and there were so many debates on the occasion of these meetings, and you had also some bilateral meetings with your colleagues. What are your outcomes on this conference? Let's start with that firstly.
Well, the idea of this conference is indeed to combine a formal debate on issues which have been agreed upon, and to give an informal background for bilateral and multilateral meetings with colleagues, which sometimes appear for the first time ever in a new function, or you have regular contacts with and use the opportunity to exchange your developments, etc. In my understanding, and with the experience of more than 10 years participation in those conferences, this last aspect is at least as important as the formal debate, which necessarily has some, well, ritual aspects. Whereas the opportunity to meet in the surrounding of a dinner, of a reception or whatever, gives you a rather private atmosphere to exchange very personal perspectives of the political situation in the neighbor country, in the respective parliaments, etc. And this also was the case this time.
And one of the topics which is discussed in the hemicycle and probably in your bilateral meetings as well is that the migration and refugee crisis in Europe. And it was an important question, and discussions happened on the role and responsibilities of parliaments. What would you like to say about that, and also the position of the Germany that we know very well, but maybe it could be also better to hear it from yourself?
Well, this is a very comprehensive issue. To comment it shortly, first of all, we have to become aware that we are confronted with a challenge which definitely needs a common answer. None of us, not one single member state of the European Union or the European Council, is able to cope with this challenge on its own. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where this isn't at all a common perception. And so this, in my understanding, is one of the major significance of dealing with this subject, to exchange this perspective. By the way, even if we could solve the Syrian, the unbelievable Syrian conflict for good during the next weeks or months, we wouldn't get rid of the challenge. Migration is a permanent process and can be observed over the century as far as Europe is concerned. And given the discrepancy in the standards of living between Europe as a whole and Africa as a whole, it doesn't need any fantasy to assume what the future perspectives of migration might be. And again, I don't see any single country, certainly not any single European country, which would be able to solve this challenge on its own. So we need a common approach, which we still don't have. And this has, of course, to do with reluctance in the respective governments and in the respective parliaments. Again, one cannot substitute the other, neither the parliaments, the governments, nor vice versa. And insofar, it's a, well, interesting accident that we have two simultaneous conferences today, one in Bratislava with the heads of state and governments, and the other, the Speakers' Conference here in Strasbourg.
And lastly, what would you like to say about the no hate speech movement to fight against hate for inclusive and non-racist societies, and how Bundestag support this movement?
Well, it is strange enough that we have to deal with this issue, but unfortunately we have. So I appreciate very much the initiative of the Parliamentary Assembly, and I support all the initiatives by Madame Brasseur and all the other colleagues being engaged in this campaign. Again, the parliaments cannot substitute their national public opinions, but they have some influence on their respective public opinions. And this was a major part of our conversation this morning in the plenary, to identify the specific parliamentary responsibility insofar.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. President.